9 a.m., boys and girls. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Our Town here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. A little later on in the program, we will be talking to Winneshiek County Emergency Management Coordinator Sean Snyder. Sean will discuss with us the upgrades that are being proposed to the Winneshiek County 911 communication system. Also on the show this morning will be our first guest. Coming up this weekend, the Allamakee County Historical Society will be opening up its new Allamakee County Veterans Museum. And John Bauercamper has joined us. He will join us to tell us about the festivities that will be going on this weekend, the things that people will see once they head to the museum itself, and the hours for the summer following Memorial Day weekend. That's all a part of our initial conversation, which is coming up right now on Our Town, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Having a conversation this morning with John Bauercamper, and he is here to discuss a new Veterans Museum in Waukon. The Allamakee County Historical Society is opening up its new Veterans Museum this weekend. And John, has to be a pretty exciting time, something new and something to say thank you to all of those that have served this weekend. And really, it's really a perfect weekend to open up something like this. You agree?
Yes, that's been our goal. We've been working on this project for 2 years since the building came available to us, and it's been very exciting and enjoyable project to work on. We're going to have a short dedication ceremony by the flagpole out front on Allamakee Street on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. We've got some special flags donated to us from DC that will be having local veterans post raise on the flagpole, and a few brief comments will be made by staff about the museum, just to get us to open the doors to the public and welcome them inside. Just to summarize, we'll be open. This weekend we'll have special hours of 10 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. Monday we won't open to noon so that people can attend the Memorial Day events. Be open from noon to 4 on Sunday.
And before we go any further, how did the idea come up with to have a Veterans Museum in Allamakee County? And you mentioned it's been a 2-year kind of labor of love to make it a reality. Take us through the process of the initial idea and all the way through this weekend, making this idea a reality.
Yes, well, Carl Johnson, local Vietnam veteran, has been talking to us for a couple of years about finding a home for his Vietnam memorabilia collection that he had established over the years, and nothing had worked out. But then the local veterans posts here in Waukon that had used this building for the last many years as a meeting place and as a restaurant decided they weren't able to afford to operate it anymore, and the land and the original buildings belonged to the county, just like the old courthouse museum that we already operate next door still belongs to the county. So they decided to just return the building and the land over to the county again, and the county needed to find a home for it. And we were approached and asked if, since we already operated a museum next door, whether we'd be interested in a military museum or another museum using this additional space. And then Carl Johnson came to us again with his idea of donating the things he had. We had a pretty good collection of Civil War, World War I, World War II items in our existing museum, but they were on the top floor of an old courthouse without the benefit of handicapped access and a lot of stairs and not enough room. So we agreed to consider it, and the Board of Supervisors worked with us and worked out a lease where they've leased the building to us for 50 years and not charging us any rent. And we agreed to move our existing museum collections over, and Carl agreed to move his items in, and that gave us enough to have a good museum that would be comprehensive. So that's how we got there, and it took substantial remodeling and substantial work to set up exhibits, and we're ready to show them off to the public.
Can you touch on a few of the exhibits that are going to be a part of this? What else will people see when they walk into the doors of the museum beginning this weekend?
First thing they'll see is our main exhibit hall, which is 60 by 40 feet. We have a Civil War exhibit that has items from the Civil War, including items from Allamakee County veterans of the Civil War. We have a Spanish-American War exhibit that includes items used by local veterans of the Spanish-American War who fought in Cuba. And our World War I exhibit, the central point of that is a recreation of a World War I trench from the war in France. Our World War II exhibit is a special one in a lot of respects. In addition to having a lot of uniforms and memorabilia from local veterans who served, we've got a special exhibit thanks to Craig Timmerman. We call it Harley-Davidson Goes to War. It's a Harley-Davidson World War II Army motorcycle that's been restored and is on display with its rider and all the tools and memorabilia that go with that. Then we have a Korean War exhibit. Our Vietnam exhibit is a little more extensive too. It includes a bunker with soldiers in it, recreating what one would have seen in Vietnam with all of the weapons and equipment. Then Carl Johnson built the replica of a tiger cage, which was used by the NVA and the VC in Vietnam as a temporary prison holding place for POWs. And this tiger cage made out of bamboo has a U.S. soldier in it, under guard by an NVA soldier, and other memorabilia related to that conflict are on display. We also have a special women's military exhibit, and the smallest exhibit we probably have is our post 9/11 exhibits from the Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan war. We hope to be able to acquire more of that in the future. One of our unique exhibits involves the USS Allamakee. Believe it or not, there was a Navy ship in World War II named after Allamakee County.
Wow.
And our recreation of it will permit visitors, after they take a tour, to take a cruise on the USS Allamakee and use it for a photo opportunity if they wish. We also have what's called a program room set aside where we'll be able to show videos of interest to our visitors. So we have a pretty good library of interviews with Allamakee County military veterans, and we also have period video material available from particularly World War II and Vietnam era, where we can show different aircraft, ships, military operations, and that sort of thing. So there's a little bit of everything for people to see. But one important part of our museum is not just to have this stuff to look at, but relate it to veterans from Allamakee County and include their stories as much as we can in the presentations we make.
And sounds like a very comprehensive collection of materials related to veterans over the years, and the ability to show those stories and tell those stories. Obviously, a big part of that. How important is it to keep this history alive, knowing the fact that so many people sacrificed for what we have today, and sometimes we take for granted?
Well, I think this gives us a good opportunity to never forget those people who have made the supreme sacrifice. One of the features of the museum is our honor wall. And on that wall, we have displayed all of the pictures we've been able to accumulate of veterans from Allamakee County who were killed in action from World War I to the present time, along with those who have served as POWs during that period of time. And we find that people who have stopped in the museum so far spend most of their time at that wall, and this will give an opportunity to remember those people and all of the sacrifices they made. We're also doing everything we can to preserve and collect their stories so that those can also be shared.
And following this weekend, what will be the regular hours of operation for the museum itself?
Well, we're still finding out just how much public interest and support there is for the museum. We decided for this summer we'd be open 4 days a week, Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to 4 every day for tours and video programs. After tours, people will be able to participate and watch video programs of interest to them if they wish. And we'll reevaluate things at the end of the year to see how our attendance and support has been. During the rest of the year, we'll probably be open limited hours, but we'll try and focus our attention to making the museum available to school and civic and youth groups and putting on programs for them.
Anything we're missing, John? Anything else you want to pass on about the museum itself or the weekend events coming up here at the museum?
Well, I would like to mention that we do not charge admission.
Okay.
We're a nonprofit organization. We're not government owned, and we will appreciate any financial donations that people might choose to make, but we hope to be able to operate without having to charge admission. And we're available to provide whatever information that people want about veterans. We've accumulated quite a bit of information where the Maury Gallagher family donated all of his research that he and Carl Christensen and others did in establishing the monuments and bricks on the courthouse lawn across the street. So we have that information. We have our own genealogy department, which has accumulated information over the years, and we intend to make that information available to the public and use it in our programs as much as possible.
And one final time, why don't you run down the events for the opening weekend coming up this weekend? When can people be there? What's all going on at the Veterans Museum coming up this weekend?
Saturday morning, there'll be a short dedication ceremony outside by the flagpole and with the Avenue of Flags in the background. And then we'll be open for tours and programs from 10 to 4 Saturday and Sunday. And again on Monday from noon to 4.
All right, John, we appreciate you taking some time telling us about the Veterans Museum this weekend in Waukon. We wish you best of luck with the opening, and we appreciate you and everybody else with all the work you guys have done to make this a reality, and hopefully you have a great opening weekend and a great opening summer as you continue to keep the memory going of so many people that have sacrificed for the things that we often take for granted.
Thanks for sharing this information with your viewers.
All right, John Bauercamper, he is with the Allamakee County Historical Society as the Veterans Museum opening up this weekend in Waukon. Having a conversation this morning with Sean Snyder. He is the Emergency Management Coordinator in Winneshiek County, and one of the conversations that he and others have been having with county officials is upgrades to the emergency 911 system in the county. Sean, tell us, A, why these upgrades are necessary, and B, what is being planned as of this time.
Sure. Well, good morning, and thank you, Darren. So in short, there's a big need for radio equipment to assist our local emergency responders. Winneshiek County, along with Allamakee, Clayton County, they're some of the most beautiful counties in the state, but they pose radio transmission issues. They're very problematic due to the topography. Right now, Winneshiek County, through some studies that have been completed, we're lacking infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, what I mean is towers with equipment. And I just want to specify to all your listeners out there, this has nothing to do with like cell towers. You know, when you're calling 911, this won't help that. This is for the radios inside the emergency vehicles that the first responders travel in. So it's their lifeline to talk back to the dispatch center. So in short, Winneshiek County is looking at adding 4 towers kind of strategically placed around the county to couple with our current 5 tower structure that we have. And by looking at the preliminary maps, it looks like it's going to shore up quite a bit of the deficiencies we have in the county.
Will you get closer to 100%, or with the topography of Winneshiek County, is it possible to get to 100% with the technology that is available right now?
Great question. My humble opinion, we're never going to reach 100%. We just have so many hills and valleys, especially along the upper Iowa and Turkey River watersheds. Industry standard across the nation is 95% coverage. And I think we're going to be well above that, but I don't think we're ever going to hit 100%.
Of course, a project like this has cost to it. What type of a price tag is the county looking at to make these upgrades?
Well, like everything right now, the price is going up. Currently, as it sits with our current plan, it's about $3.5 million to fund this project. The Board of Supervisors have been great partners with the 911 board, and they have some ideas. Nothing has been set in stone at this point. There's a lot of moving parts that'll get worked out over the next year or so.
And based on the conversation you had with the supervisors earlier this week, they are pretty supportive of at least the idea. I know you have more details to be worked out, but the idea they're supportive of. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I would say that's very fair. Again, I don't want to put words in their mouths, but they seem very supportive of it and very much in favor, and would like us to kind of move forward and try to start dotting some I's and crossing some T's.
And when it comes to financing that $3.5 million cost as of this time, is there some COVID funds available, emergency relief funds available? Would it have to be bonded for and financed through the county's general fund? How would that work out? What are some of the options you're looking at?
I think everything that you listed is a viable option. Again, the supervisors are the ones that would probably speak best to that, Darren. I don't want to speak for them. Okay. I'm not trying to dodge the question. It's just we're so early into this project. A lot can change over the next few weeks.
When it comes to the the process of where this thing is at right now when it comes to governing boards. Where is it at right now? Where does it need to go in the next few steps?
So talking to the Board of Supervisors yesterday, they seem very favorable to this, and per the county attorney's suggestion, the next step is to go to the 911 board and get their official request, if you will, to ask the Board of Supervisors for the funding and the assistance. And that's kind of the next step. We're going to have a 911 meeting, kind of bring them up to speed on our plan and where we're currently at. And then I fully expect a letter or a recommendation to come out of that meeting that'll come back to the Board of Supervisors, and that'll kind of kick the official process off.
Obviously, projects like this don't happen overnight. You mentioned there's still quite a few steps to go before you get this thing off the ground. How long have you guys been discussing this matter?
Well, we're currently, this would be phase 5 of the 911 project. So it never really ends. There's always new technology that comes to play. There's technology that ages out and needs to be replaced. So this is, again, phase 5. Sheriff Marks and I have been working on this for quite some time, probably the better part of a year. And then once assuming we get the go ahead, it'll be at least 2 years before this is completed. It'll be just probably a full year of paperwork, studies, sampling, all that kind of testing before we can actually dig, so to speak, to make a tower.
And when it comes to building these towers, excuse me, or when it comes to building these towers, could they go up concurrently, or would it have to be a phased-in project, do one then the other, or can you even answer that question yet?
It'll most likely be a do one and then the other type project, because just a quick refresher, we're looking at building 4 towers, but 2 of those 4 towers are going to use current equipment that's on towers that we currently either rent or a water tower that isn't ideal. Water towers are great, but everyone shares the same horizontal space. In order to avoid interference, you need vertical separations. That's why water towers are never meant to be a long-term solution, especially to public safety radio equipment.
And with all the towers that are in the air and nowadays, especially with cell phone towers, is it putting up a tower more of a challenge than it was maybe 20 years ago, or are radio frequencies and cell signals different enough? Does that alleviate some of that challenge?
I'll answer that question by saying yes. Finding space for towers is always difficult, and then the studies that have to go along with it. Everything on a tower causes some sort of radio frequency, so interference studies have to be conducted to make sure that our radio system isn't interfering with, let's say, an internet provider or cell tower. So yeah, there's a lot. And then the rules and regulations for a tower itself is another quite lengthy process.
And I'm assuming there's some FAA regulations that go along with this as well, correct?
Yeah, especially the higher you go. And the height of each tower is very much predicted by the topography that it's in. If we can, one of the areas we've identified, if it's got a hillside or something that is viable, the tower can be shorter, where vice versa, if it's in a valley, then the tower has to be taller. So that's where our radio vendor really helps guide us, and through their mapping technology and studies, they can tell us how the height of the tower and all those specifics.
All right, Sean, anything else you want to pass on from emergency management's perspective, as long as you got the forum this morning?
So RSVP, Retired Senior Volunteer Program, has been a huge partner of mine since I've been around in the county here. Recently, I've got some great news. I nominated Deb Teacup and Carol Hemsath, 2 of my go-to volunteers. They recently were acknowledged, and next week they receive the Governor's Volunteer award. So I'm pretty proud of that for the December, I believe it was December 15th, the power outage we had in Winneshiek County. So I made one phone call to Deb, she called Carol, and we opened a warming shelter within a half hour, I think, which is a record for anything.
Wow.
So they're very, very worthy of getting that award. So I'm very proud of that, and kudos to those two for always answering their phone at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's very much appreciated. And
do you have a date on that ceremony next week?
Yeah, so it is, I'm looking at the paper now, it's Tuesday, May 31st at 1 p.m. It's going to be in Cedar Falls. So I'll go down and accompany them and congratulate them in person for getting that award. So.
All right, Sean, we appreciate your time and information as always. Look forward to talking to you probably in the near future. Hopefully we won't have to talk to you too much this summer, but I know you're always willing to answer your phone if necessary.
Well, thanks, Darren. And, you know, assuming this goes forward, I'd love to do more structured or whatever the word you want to say, interview or updates on this tower project. I'd be happy to do that anytime.
All right, Sean Snyder from Winneshiek County Emergency Management. A thank you to the guest on the program this morning, John Bauercamper from the Allamakee County Historical Society, talking about the opening of the Allamakee County Veterans Museum, which will be held this weekend in Waukon. And we thank Sean Snyder, Winneshiek County Emergency Management Coordinator, for an interesting conversation about the E911 upgrades that are being proposed in the county. Don't forget, each and every week we put this on YouTube as well. Basically, go to YouTube, 5-26 Our Town program. You can find it that way. Or we link the Our Town YouTube links on all of our Facebook pages throughout the LA Communications family of stations. We realize you can't be by a streaming device or by the radio every week, Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, but we want to still give you the opportunity to listen in on the conversations we get to have with the interesting people we get to talk to each and every week. Our Town on YouTube, it's another way to consume the content of the Our Town program, one of the longest running radio programs in these parts, if not the longest running radio program in these parts. Started with Vern Koenig and Ken Bierke back in the day, and I'm proud to be sitting in that chair that's been held by so many people over the years. We thank, first of all, our guest for being on the show. We thank Decorah Bank and Trust for sponsoring the show. And most importantly, we thank you for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.